Hi, I'm Bryony Kennedy, and today I'm going to show you my autumn-inspired look using some beautiful plum shades. Now, first of all, you need to make sure that your skin is prepped. Now, if you have an oily skin, make sure that your prep has had time to settle into the skin. And in fact, for most of you, you will find that you need just a couple of minutes to let your skin prep soak into the skin. If you're noticing that your foundation is really sticking into the pores or separating, it could be that you've not allowed your skin prep to absorb into the skin long enough. It also might mean that you've put too much on. You've gone a little bit excited and put too much skin prep on, and maybe the prep that you're using isn't suiting the foundation. So some basic things to remember is that if you're using a water-based moisturizer or primer, that will usually suit most foundation types because you're putting a water base on first. It soaks into the skin, being that skin is so water-based, and then you can put any type of foundation over the top. If you're using something that's a little bit more oil-based, then you need to make sure that the foundation that goes over the top will suit it. If you're finding that that's separating, then it could be that you need to use more of an oil-based foundation, like say for example a cream stick, which I'm using today. You of course can use the loose minerals with any skin preparation, but it's just a little tip to let you know if you're finding that your foundation separates or it's really sticking into the pores, it's absorbing into the skin because you've not allowed your prep to soak into the skin long enough. Now, to prep your skin, obviously give it a little cleanse. However you do that, don't over cleanse in the morning. You can pop your serums on, spritz your face with your rose water or your vitamin C, and then choose one of our morning cleansers, morning moisturizers, which is also your primer. I've used the hydration one. I'm a little bit dehydrated at the moment, so I really want to plump up that skin. Now, you've noticed I've got a couple little marks under my eyes. I've had some lumps removed from underneath my eyes, so it's going to be a perfect opportunity to show how amazing our foundations and concealers cover that. I've also got some pigment that you'll see will disappear as well, which is great to show those of you that have that skin condition. All right, so let's get started. Our skin's prepared. We've let it absorb a little bit longer. If you've got dry skin, you might not need to wait as long because your skin's thirsty. It'll probably suck that skin prep in. So for someone who's got an oilier skin, it might take a little bit longer. Now, the products that I'm going to use today for foundation, as I said, are the cream sticks. Perfect if you've got more of a dehydrated skin. It does suit most skin types, but if you're an oilier skin, maybe substitute this for a liquid or the loose mineral powder. All right, so this is perfect because you can just pop it down the T-zone, apply it, just wind it up, apply it where you want. I'm in between shades at the moment because I guess in autumn we are changing. Maybe we've had a bit of a tan and now that's fading. So I'm experimenting with some other colors. And the one I'm going to be looking at today is the medium tan. So samples are available for all of or majority of our products. So I'm using a sample at the moment of the medium tan cream. Most people will find that they need a couple of foundation shades throughout the year. And so this is a perfect opportunity to mention that you're not going to be able to use the same foundation shade all year round. Okay, and sometimes you might find that you need a couple. Now, I like to just focus on my foundation being put down the center of my T-zone, and then I can blend out, and then I can just add more as I need to. All right, so for that, I'm going to use a kabuki brush. You could, of course, use our complexion blending brush. You could use the complexion brush if you wanted to, which is this shorter one. It just depends on what kind of coverage that you want, but I'm using the kabuki, so I want just a little bit more heavier coverage today. And that medium tan's perfect. I just need a little bit more. One of the things that's important is to make sure you put your your foundation over your eye area, because it's usually quite light or there's a lot of discoloration there. Now, even if you're someone who likes to brighten up this area with, say, the Peachy Sleep or a lighter concealer, you do that when you're putting your concealer on. You'll use a slightly lighter shade. But to begin with, you always just help to neutralize and bring that into balance with the rest of the skin so that you don't have the discoloration, and then you don't need to use as much concealer. And this is where we start to see, you know, concealer sticking in the wrinkles, the laugh lines and things like that. So you really want to just focus on getting some foundation there to even up the tone. And then you don't need as much of the concealer. You're just using concealer to brighten up the area or possibly color correct. Now I put my foundation on, and now I'm just going back, and with my finger I'm just dabbing more where I think I need it, and then I'll blend that with the kabuki. Now if you've got a little bit of a freckled chest, bit of sun damage, I have a little bit of those little beautiful little red spots all over my chest, so don't be afraid to put a little bit on your chest, and then you can just set it down with the setting powder or our HD powder. So just see how it just nicely and evens up that complexion on your chest. And often our chest gives away, you know, the signs of, not so much that it matters, it gives signs away of our aging, but we want to make it look nice and even so that our chest looks as beautiful as our face. All right, so I'm going in just to blend the rest of that foundation. If you're wearing your hair back, just make sure you always get just the residue that's left on your brush behind your neck. You might even need to put a little bit of foundation on your neck if your neck's white compared to the rest of your body. I know because I'm so conscious of putting sunscreen on, my neck is a lot lighter than my chest and my face. So to bring it all into balance, especially because I'm exposing my chest, I am putting a bit of foundation on my neck. Okay, so that's the importance of color matching to your décolletage. You can't see where I've put my foundation, and that's a perfect match, which is fantastic. So I'm really happy with the coverage at the moment. You of course can layer up the cream stick as much as you want. So if you really want full coverage, you can definitely do that. I just want to be able to still see a little bit of my skin. So if that means some of my imperfections, that's totally fine. I'll go in and correct a lot of this with concealer and bronzer. All right, so the next thing I'm going to quickly do is my eyebrows, okay? So that if I get any fallout, I can just fix that up with a brush. Okay, so just combing the brows just allows for you to get in between the hairs a lot easier than if you were to just try and pop the brow dust on straight away. I'm using the medium brow dust. Now you could of course use a pencil if you wanted to. There's other colors in the brow dusts. Using the angle brush, and I'm applying the short end first. Okay, so what I like to do is just little strokes in the beginning of the brow so that your brow looks really natural. You really don't want to put too much intense color in this part here. You still want to see a little bit of skin. So if you're wanting that block look, focus more on this middle section of your brow where the hairs naturally become more dense. But this part of the brow, it's natural to see a little bit of skin. So we want to see some of that skin, but we may just be correcting it by lengthening it or just filling in any gaps, I suppose. So I'm not focusing on any brow dust there. I don't need it. I'm just putting it into the arch area. Again, makeup is often correcting rather than covering, okay? So you don't have to put it all the way through the brow. The same with foundation. You don't have to put foundation all over your face. Okay, so that's just sharpened that up. I'm going to brush that through as well. Again, just using some lighter strokes so I can maintain some of the skin there. And then more of that block color in the middle section of my brow. perfect. Now, if you're really wanting to intensify your brows, you could use an eyeliner or something similar in color and just very gently line in the bottom section of your brow area just to really crispen up that shape. That's another little tip that you could do. At this point though, I'm just going to brush that brow dust through the little fibers, obviously, or the little brush hairs of these combs. Just comb through that. See how they've just combed through that brow dust, separated it, and almost made it look more hair-like, which is what I like. Okay, so brows are done. I'm just going to grab one of our really super big brushes just to dust away any tiny fragment of dust that might have landed on my under eye. Now, if you're really messy with your eye makeup, do it first, and then you don't have to worry about fixing up your foundation, okay? But notice I haven't done my concealer because it's possible that I might get some fallout. So for those messy people, do your eye makeup first, then you finish off with your foundation. If you've got a bit more of a handle on it or you're using more cream products, then you don't need to worry about the order of what you're doing. The other thing you could do is hold a tissue underneath the eye. So all you need to do is this, fold up a tissue, and just hold it like that while you're doing your brows, and then the fallout will land on the tissue. Okay, so there's some little tips for you. All right, so now I'm going to go in with concealing and correcting my under eyes and just some sections on my face. So I'm going to be using the Peachy Sleep Concealer. Now you can just use a finger, or of course you can use a brush, and I'm focusing on this middle section or inner section of my eye where we're all got that really deep vein. We want to cover that. And the Peachy Sleep is great for color correction for dark looking under eyes. So it just gives a really nice lift. Now, if you've not put foundation on, you would need to bring concealer the whole way. And concealer's usually in the under eye area a little bit lighter because you want that to brighten the eye. So we don't want to darken up the under eye because it's going to make it look more sunken. So usually a concealer is lighter around the eye area, but if you just put concealer on, lighter things draw attention to things. So it could really exasperate the look of your fine lines. So my tip again here is to make sure you put some foundation around the eyes to lift up the tone, so that then all you need to use the concealer for is brightening and a little bit of color correction. Now, I prefer to use my fingers. I just feel the warmth of my fingers push that product into the skin a little bit more, and I just feel like it's less stretching when you're just dabbing it on rather than a brush, because you're kind of sweeping that over the skin. And I put it on the outer corners because we often get a little red there because of our eyes possibly weeping if you're rubbing your eyes. Okay, so see how brightening that's been? Okay, now I'm just going to put a little bit more on, and then I'm going to color correct this little sore that I've got there. And we don't want to put light. You notice I purposely and intentionally didn't put the Peachy Sleep on this, because remember, lighter things make things look bigger. Now, I don't want that to look bigger. I want that to disappear. So that part of my eye, I'm going to go back in with a darker concealer to make sure that I've color corrected that. Now, again, I'm just going to put a little bit more here. And that's the thing. It's just add a bit more as you need it. It's easier just to add than it is to take away, and then you're having to constantly start again. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. I'm going to come in with a slightly darker concealer here. So I'm just using the medium tan, which matches, and look at that. Oh, gone. Well, almost gone. You can't completely, anything that's raised on the skin is pretty hard to completely get rid of, but I'm happy with that. That's good. Happy with that. So once I set my makeup down with the new HD powder, that will obviously set that in place for me as well. All right, so there we go. Now, I also like to do a little bit of brightening around the face. So one of the areas that I like to do that is just the chin here. So you can use, say, the light concealer. Just put a little bit in the middle of the chin. Okay. And if you wanted to, you could also just put a little bit in the temple area, because we can get a little bit sunken in this area as we age. Okay, we tend to get really sunken in, and I definitely have that. So light things make things look bigger. So this is not only brightening, but it also gives the illusion that this area is not as sunken in. Now you can skip some of these steps. This is just little bits that once you get the hang of where to put things, it really doesn't take very long at all. You could also pop a little bit of a lighter concealer, even a lighter foundation if you'd prefer that texture, in the center of the forehead. Now, you could be definitely using our Complexion Blender for this if you wanted to, just to be less messy on the fingers. Just blend that in. That's totally fine. Use the blending tool that suits you. All right, at this point in time, I like to use our Soothing Barrier Balm on my lips. I've got very dry lips, most of us have, and putting that on your lips now gives your lips a chance to soften, and anything that's dry and cracked to be easily, almost if you wanted to, like, just massage it, and some of that dead skin will also come off, so that when you get to the point of putting your lipstick on, it's not going to grab to those areas. So that's a little, you can put that on at your skin prep time if you want to. I just like to do it sort of in between. All right, so the next product that I'm going to really quickly use is the Tinted Eye Primer. It's the same primer, we've just changed the name for those of you that have been following us for a while. And so what I love about this is exactly that, it's tinted. So you'll see it just neutralizes my veins. Perfect to use by itself. You just set it down with the setting powder or the HD powder. And I'm just using our flat brush for this, going right up to the brow line. It just means that neutralizing all these veins, which are blue and red up there, your eyeshadow is going to go on a lot nicer, and the color won't be distorted in your eyeshadow. Okay, so now I'm going to put on some of my eye colors, and I'm going to use, if I can find it, here we go. I'm going to use Contentment, which is a really beautiful cream. This is a gorgeous autumn color. It suits any eye color, so it's got that really nice golden, very slight golden shimmer or undertone. Once you put it on, it's not really a shimmer at all, but it's got a nice golden undertone that makes blue eyes stand out. It's great for blue, green eyes. It's just a really beautiful color for anybody. So I'm going to now just put that on with our dome brush. There's a couple of those. Use the shorter one. And I'm just doing what I call a socket eye. So I'm just putting it into the socket. And I'm just, before I start blending it, I'm going to just put a dot here. So in line with the edge of my eye and my brow, a little dot there. And that's where I want to blend up. It stops me blending down, which is what often can happen. We can blend down and then we get this droopy looking eye. Okay, so give yourself a little paint by number dot so that you know you can't blend down past there. You've got to really stick to this area here within the eye. Now you'll notice I keep going from eye to eye. That's because I'm constantly looking at myself to make sure it's balanced. So right now I've got this one nice and high, this one's a little bit lower, so I've got to focus on blending up here a bit more. It just stops you having to go back and fix things if you're just swapping from eye to eye. You're constantly balancing out your work. Now, as you start to blend more and more, there's obviously less and less on the brush. So I focus on getting this outer area right where I want the intensity of the color to remain. And then as I am happy with this area, I start to blend more into the inner crease and obviously blend up a little bit because there's less on the brush at this point, and then it's safe to sort of blend that up without blending color up. So focus on this bit here, get that blending quite nice, and then you'll find you can use your brush to correct your shading. And if you're not really great at that, that's fine. Just keep a spare brush, and I recommend this size brush, the really big dome one. I recommend keeping that one clean as your blending brush, because then you can use that to just go in over blending away any of the lines, because you basically don't want to see where your eyeshadow starts and ends, okay? So you can just use that as a little tip. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to finishing off the rest of my face before I then finish with obviously your mascaras and your lipsticks. Okay, so now I'm going to use our Autumn Bronzer. I love this product because it not only will add warmth to my skin, but it will also give a little bit of a highlight because it's got a very slight golden shimmer to it. You can also use it along the hairline for pigment, but if you've got bad pigment like I do, you might even want to use the Correction Compact, which really is a beautiful pigment blend product. I'm not too worried about it today. I just want a little bit of warmth to the skin, so I'm just going to use the Autumn Bronzer. This is a gorgeous eyeshadow color too, just as an FYI. So I'm going to use one of our larger brushes because I don't want it to be so intense that I'm using it as a contour. This is really just to warm up my skin. And by nature, when you're using a darker product, it's of course going to help contour the face a little bit anyway. So you can see already on this side of my face, it's neutralized the pigment anyway. Okay, so it's given a really nice bit of color to help neutralize that pigment. And I'm just following my 3 method here. I'm going along my hairline, I'm going just under, but then blending up onto my cheekbone, and then I'm going along my jawline just to give some really nice warmth to the skin where the sun would naturally get it. Look how healthy this side of my face looks to this side. Okay, it really pays to add in another color. So whether it's a bronzer, it's a contour product, or our corrective palette, that's totally up to you, but it really looks so much more natural, your skin, if you add in this second product. You don't even then need to use blush if you don't want to, but I do like to use a bit of blush to add a bit of pop of color to my cheeks. Again, I've just used the 3 method, and I do go a little bit over my ears and behind my ears. Now, if you've got blonde hair, just hold your hand in your hairline and brush up onto your fingers just to avoid getting that into your hairline. And if you've got a slightly lighter neck like I do, pop a little bit down your neck. Now what's left on the brush, always be a little bit of residue of colour. I just like to then gently sweep over my whole face, just to bring all of the colours together natural. So there's a graduation between everything rather than bronzer, foundation, concealer. I like to bring it all together so it looks really natural. Again, I'm a big fan of having a spare brush handy. So if you're someone who struggles to blend, you'll find our minerals are so easy to blend. But if you do struggle with that, have a spare brush handy, the biggest one in our 15-piece brush kit, so you can use that to blend all of the products together. Okay, the same with your eyeshadow, have a spare brush handy. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. I'm going to now pop on our beautiful Autumn Rose. Now this is so pigmented and it's such a gorgeous color, but you need the smallest amount. So this is a little tricky in that you've got to get to know how little to use. By that, I'm going to show you, like, that's going to be too much. So I'm just dusting a bit off onto a tissue. And now I'm going to just gently pop some on the apples of my cheeks. I'm barely touching my skin with this brush. It's such a beautiful color, but it's so pigmented. Gorgeous autumn color, and it's so nice on the eyes. This is a really pretty eyeshadow color. Now you'll notice I'm blending my blush up into the temples and over the bronzer. This just gives a natural facelift. Okay, so it really lifts because it's drawing the eye and the light up rather than you placing the blush down here, which is going to drag the face down. If you've got quite a square jaw or you've got quite a round face, you might want to place the blush a little bit underneath the cheekbone. That is totally fine. So what you'll do is you'll blend out towards the ear here. But for those of us that have quite a narrow face, or we're aging and things are starting to gravitate downwards, just apply it on the apples of the cheeks and blend it up into the temple area. Just like, look at that, it's as tiny a smidge. Okay, love it. It's so pretty. Okay, so there we've got the beautiful autumn blush on. Okay, now what I'm going to do is grab my highlighter, which is the loose highlighter. One of our best selling. It's such a beautiful product. Use it as eyeshadow, highlighter. You can put it on your body as a body shimmer, but not too shimmery, which is beautiful. You know, pop it on your collarbone, put it on your forehead, your cheekbones over the top. You know, you could pop that on your lips to plump them up a little bit. It's just so gorgeous. On the legs, it looks divine. So just using your angle contour brush or highlighter brush. Again, I'm focusing on my temples, because I want those to be lighter and brighter so they don't look as sunken in. Then I'm going to put a tiny little bit on the cheekbones just above the blush, but of course blend it onto the blush. Now I want to miss these sores I've got because we don't want highlighting on that or it will make them look bigger. So I've just got to miss those a little bit there. Okay, you could pop this down the center of the nose, as I said, in the middle. If you wanted to, that's totally fine. I like to put a little bit on the top of my Cupid's bow because it gives the illusion that the lips are more poutier than they are. So it just curls the lips up. Don't do this if you've got the smoker's lines, because again, it'll highlight those and make them stand out more. Okay, pop a little bit onto my collarbones. Oh, there we go. Pretty. And you can, of course, then come in with an eyeshadow brush and just put some on the outer edge of your brow. just to really give a lift. Again, if that looks lighter, it lifts up the brown, opens up the eyes. I'm going to put some on the inner eye just so I look healthier. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm really happy with all of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with the HD powder. So if you can see, I've got some large pores here. And most of us do, especially as we get a bit older too. And if you've got an oilier skin in particular, usually your pores are a lot more obvious. So I'm coming in with the gorgeous micro milled HD powder. That's the secret of HD powders, is not just the ingredients. This is a pure mineral. It's a silica dioxide, but it's how it's been milled. It has to be so micro milled that it becomes part of the skin, and it's so fine. I just love it. All right, so I'm using the biodegradable Complexion Blender, which is actually made out of bamboo, fun fact, and I'm going to bake this onto the skin just here in the areas that I have the large pores. Now you can use a brush. If you want to use a brush, you can totally use a brush. If you just want more of a, if you just want a lighter application. But look at that. It's totally blurred out those large pores. And even my eyes, look at that. So these little bumps, which I've had some removed, you can see I've got these little bumps under my eyes. Hello, miracle blur right there. Like, wow. I'm super impressed myself. Okay, I can't stop looking at that. That's ridiculous. Okay, all right, so there we go. We've got baking on a little bit. So when I'm just putting like I probably put a bit too much on before, a little bit like that. So again, look at this. Okay, like, what wizardry is this? I mean, I should know because it's our product, but I just still, okay. I just still don't, I can't get my head around this. Wow. Okay, this is an autumn tutorial, but it's HD taking over. That's just blown my mind. Okay, that's fantastic. All right, so getting back onto the tutorial here. All right, so, and I'm popping some in the middle of my forehead, like, oh my God, this product. Oh, wow, I look airbrushed, like I've got a filter on, and I don't. This is amazing. Okay, so that's that. All right, I'm just going to go back in with a tiny bit of concealer though on my little sore that I've got there, because I have managed to rub it away with all of my products that I've been popping on. So let's just hide that again. This is the joy of when you've got a sore and you've got a little dry scab. It's kind of hard to cover up. But other than that, I'm so impressed with this. This is just like wowness. Okay, so now that I'm totally blown away by the finish of my complexion, I'm going to finish off my eyelashes and my beautiful lipstick. So I will now be using the Rustic Mocha. Okay, so I've just put on my mascara. I've put the lash primer on, and I'm using the waterproof mascara in brown. Now, I do curl my lashes first before the primer. I put one coat of mascara on, and then I curl my lashes again, and then I finish off with my last coat, which is the second coat of mascara. So you can see you get really long, luscious looking lashes by doing that. Those extra little steps make a massive difference. So finishing off with lips. Now you could use all three of these products, 1, 2, or you could just skip and go straight to the gloss, completely up to you. But I just want to show you how a lip liner can really enhance the size of your lips. Not only will it help your lipstick from bleeding, but it can actually make your lips look that little bit bigger. So I'm going to use the nude lip liner in our range, and I'm just going to show you by applying this on my lip line, but slightly onto, you can see I've got this skin colored lip line as well. So if you've got that, then just still on your lip, but slightly onto that lip, that nude lip line as well, is going to give the illusion of a bigger pout or a more lifted looking lips. I'll show you what I mean. So see how this lip looks higher than this side of my mouth, because I've just very slightly gone onto that nude lip line. Now I could probably go a little bit further up. You don't want to go so far up that you can see it on your skin here, but enough that it covers that natural line that you've got, and it's instantly a lip lift. See how fuller this side of my mouth looks at the bottom to this side? Now you can lip line your whole mouth if you're wanting to ensure that if your lipstick does rub off during the day, you're not left with just lip liner on. I'm a big fan of using lip liner just in this inner part of my lip, then popping my lipstick on, but not necessarily doing the whole mouth. Okay, now I'm going to use Rustic Mocha. Now this is a really beautiful nude, like a caramelly nude colour that most people can wear. Again, you could substitute this for another nude lipstick, but this one is really pretty. Again, I'm just keeping the lipsticks more of a nude look so that more of my cheeks and my eyes stand out. It's really, really pretty. Okay, and now you could leave it like that, or you could top it off with the Naomi Gloss. Again, this is a beautiful autumn-inspired colour, and you can wear this on your cheeks as well if you wanted to, just a little bit on the apples of the cheeks. It's got a very slight shimmer to it, this lip gloss as well, which gives the illusion of a fuller looking lip. And the reason I like to wear a gloss over the lipstick is it just gives a bit more depth to the gloss. Those of you that are using these already know they're quite pigmented, but if you're wanting a bit more depth, then a lipstick underneath is really pretty. And I do like the Rustic Mocha and the Naomi combination because it just gives this really nice, almost like a caramelly but plum look. It's just a really pretty autumn colour that most people could wear. Okay, so finishing off, You could, again, if you're feeling that you want to bake a little bit more of the HD powder on in the areas that you might need it, you could do that. If you're wanting to look a little bit more dewy on the outer part, you could spritz with the rose water, or add a little bit more highlighter around the areas that you want to look a little bit bigger or more highlighted or healthier or dewier. I tend to keep my HD powder just sort of more in the T-zone where the larger pores are. Now, all of the products that I've shown today either have samples available so you can test the color to make sure. The loose mineral powders all have refills available as well. So if you're running low, please grab a refill before you opt for a full-size pot. I hope you've enjoyed this, all the little tips and tricks along the way, and I'll do a final photo so you can see the final look.